Welcome to the Love All channel. Today we're going to discuss the next big three players in tennis. Kindly subscribe and enjoy the video. Who are the next big three players in tennis after Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, and Novak Djokovic? It's difficult to imagine men's tennis without Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, and Novak Djokovic. But three up-and-coming players might make it simple for fans when the big three retire. The big three of Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, and Novak Djokovic have utterly dominated men's tennis for the past 15 years. With perhaps the three finest players arriving and competing at the same time, it has been the most exciting era to watch. All three of them are currently nearing the conclusion of their careers. Thus, tennis must look at the upcoming generations for its ambassadors. The ATP may also have a ready-made trio that can fill in for them in the form of Carlos Alcaraz, Lorenzo Musetti, and Jannik Sinner. Making similarities between Rafael Nadal and Carlos Alcaraz is simple, possibly too simple. Alcaraz's potential has actually been known since he was 15 years old, and ever since then, he has had to deal with the label of next Rafael Nadal. He has always kept himself apart from comparisons, and for good reason. They are plainly useless, but they are also not particularly accurate. When you look closely at their games, they are pretty different, but they do have one thing in common that stands out. They are both amazing warriors on the court. Fair enough, as its quality that the majority of Spanish players appear to possess. They are well known for their clay-playing skills and extreme grit, in that order. Alcaraz has already demonstrated that he is a true warrior on the court, none more so than when he took on Rafael Nadal in the Indian Wells semifinals. The teenager ultimately lost the match, but Nadal had to work so hard to defeat him that he hurt himself. Looking ahead, it is nearly impossible to imagine Alcaraz failing to continue on and winning numerous major championships. Although the skill is there, he is unlikely to surpass Nadal's 21 victories and counting. Additionally, Alcaraz is already at a level where he can potentially contend for any men's tennis championship, which is incredible in and of itself considering he's only 19 years old. Lorenzo Musetti. Although Lorenzo Musetti is maturing more slowly than many would have expected to see, the ATP Tour hasn't seen a player with his caliber of potential in a while. Musetti is 20 years old, so you would think he would be further ahead than Alcaraz. But Musetti is a touch player, and finesse takes longer to perfect than power. Alcaraz has matured physically at a young age and relies on a power game. The Italian is comparable to Roger Federer in that regard alone, who was a year or two older than Rafael Nadal when they first started dominating every competition. There are other similarities as well. To begin with, Musetti shares Federer's skill with a graceful one-handed backhand in a time when the two-handed version is more common. He is a true shot maker as well, always willing to attack and take big chances. Federer was always distinguished by that from the more defensive-minded Nadal and Djokovic. Out of the three, Musetti is the one that exudes charisma the most. He has the looks, and he has already appeared on the covers of magazines for men's fashion. Because of his ease in the spotlight, he claims that if he couldn't have been a tennis player, he would have rather become an actress. Musetti, out of the three players listed here, is the one whose future feels the most uncertain. He is currently just not patient enough and constantly wants to go for his huge victories. That causes too many unforced mistakes, which in turn causes frustration, which further impairs his patience. However, Musetti will be a huge draw in tennis for many years if he can have the patience to thoughtfully craft his points before unleashing his weapons. Certainly, Musetti's countryman, Jannik Sinner, recognizes his promise. He said of Musetti, he has a really powerful swing and is skilled at changing direction and moving the ball. He may suddenly be a greater player than I am. Anytime you refer to Novak Djokovic as a machine or robot, you run the danger of drawing ire from his rabid following of committed followers who perceive him as much more than that. That is a fair stance to adopt as well. Djokovic is undoubtedly one of the greatest personalities on the ATP Tour, as well as one of the most passionate and emotional athletes. But in this context, we clearly mean the term machine as a compliment. Tennis against a brick wall is frequently how playing Djokovic seems because no matter what you do, the ball always appears to come back to you from the baseline. Everyone will agree that Novak Djokovic is the best power baseline player in tennis history, and that Jannik Sinner is a player whose game appears to be quite comparable to the Serbs, despite the ongoing and heated GOAT arguments. As a young ski champion, Sinner has translated his amazing balance to the tennis court to become one of the game's most nimble and dynamic players. Together, those two skills, along with some incredibly clean hitting from the baseline, can frequently be daunting for rival players. Another Italian, Sinner, is 20 years old and has already made his top 10 debut. He has also participated in the Tour Finals, albeit as an alternate. Djokovic might never be duplicated as a whole. He is an exceptional outcome of his upbringing in a nation that has seen war, and his inherent talent was molded in the crucible of the most competitive period in men's tennis history. Sinner, however, is the player who most closely resembles Djokovic in terms of his actual playing, and he appears to be destined to win many major championships before he retires from the sport. If you want to watch more amazing videos like this, kindly subscribe and click the like button to become part of our family.